What is up, y'all? Welcome back to our Colorado Rockies series here on Out of the Park Baseball 22. And we are still here, November 25th, the start of free agency. The free agents filed today. And in the last episode, I ended it asking you guys, what do you think I should do here in free agency? If we take a look here at, let's start with the lineups first. We do have a hole at first base, a hole at third base, and a hole at shortstop. And then in terms of our pitching staff, we could use a one starting pitcher, and then, of course, we will need to get some bullpen pieces, but those are cheap, so I'm not too worried about that. If you did miss the last episode, we got a new owner. We got Dylan Toney. Fiscally, he is generous, which is nice. The main issue with him is that he is a very meddling sort of owner. And for those of you that don't know what that means, if we go to like finances, for example, last year I had the development budget maxed out at $36 million. I would have liked to have kind of kept it that way, but our owner only wants us to spend $21.9 million. We're hard capped at that. We cannot spend any more, can't spend any less. So we have to spend that exact amount on development budget. I have no control over that. So I'm a little upset about that, but you got to take the positives with the negatives, I suppose, and the fact that he is generous fiscally. He is giving us a decent amount of money to build a contending team here in Colorado. So before we get into the comments, just one quick thing. If we go to the salaries, I did offer an extension to Green and Rocker, just a one-year thing to buy out their final arbitration year. That way, in case they have really, really good season this year, their arbitration number won't be astronomical. So Green only wanted a one-year extension. I looked into giving him a long-term deal, but smartly on his part, he only wants a one-year extension. He doesn't want to get locked in anything long-term. Torkelson wants a long-term extension at this point. He would take $30 million over 8 years, which at 27 years old, the type of offensive upside that Torkelson has, it's not a crazy ask. I'm not going to do it right this second, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. We definitely want to keep Green and Torkelson in Colorado as long as possible. If not for the rest of their careers, then at least through the rest of their primes. I mean, Torkelson's 27, Green is 26, so those kinds of guys would be great to keep here long term. I mean, that's why we traded for him from Detroit. That's why we gave up what we gave up to get those guys, so they could be, forces in our lineup for years to come. And we saw that. We played pretty well after acquiring those players. We went 16-9 in July, 12-15 in August, but then we went over 500 in September, 14-12, 3-1 in the 4 games we played in October. So those guys definitely did make a difference for sure. But let's get into your comments here real quick, and then we can hop into free agency. So I'm going to open this up here. So we got a lot of support for signing Adames. So here is one right here. I think Adames would be good for shortstop. Good defense. It could be league average with the bat. Maybe on a short-term 2 to 3 year contract until someone better comes along. Maybe take a look at Corbin Martin for the rotation. Andujar's bat looks like it would play really well in course for third base. Let's go to free agency real quick. And free agents. So we did go to shortstop because we do need a shortstop. And Adames is the best guy available. He only wants $9.5 million. And on a short-term deal, I wouldn't be upset. He's a captain, high leader, high work ethic, good range for the shortstop position. It's not 80 grade, but 70 grade is still pretty solid. His error rating is not as high as I would like it to be, but I think that this guy could be a solid addition. As you can see, he's been with Tampa Bay for this entire save. He has not gone to a different team. Of course, in real life, he has been playing very well from Milwaukee, but in this save, Tampa Bay has kept him, and he's been a pretty reliable player. Maybe not so much with the bat. 2026 this past season, he did have an OPS over 700. He was close to a 3-win player. A WRC plus close to league average at 98. League average is 100 for those that don't know. You can see, though, that 2 wins above replacement 2024, 1.3 in 2025. That wasn't his best year, certainly. But I still think that he could be a solid stopgap option at shortstop until we can find a better option. And then in terms of the third base hole that we have, we'll go to Miguel Andujar. So this could be an option for us to look at, certainly. You can see that he was with the Yankees all the way up to 2024, and then he's with the Angels in 2025. He was with the Rangers this past season. Not his best season at the plate, only a 731 OPS. In fact, it seems like offensively, he has not been very good. In fact, this entire save, it seems like he's not really been a great player. If we take a look at his ratings, when you have a bad eye at the plate, it's going to be very difficult to be successful, no doubt about it. He's also fragile. I don't know if I want to invest money into a guy that I don't know if he's going to be on the field a lot. He is a extremely hard worker, high work ethic. So maybe we take a look at that. 70 grade arm at a third base. Yeah, you could do worse, but we'll see how we're going to fill that third base hole, certainly. And then Corbin Martin for the rotation. So let's go back. I don't know why I left that screen. Let's go to all pitchers. I don't know if I think he's listed as a reliever, technically. Oh, there he is. He's right there at the top. Okay, so there's Corbin Martin. He is listed as a starter. So he's a ground ball pitcher, which would be good, especially playing half the games in Coors Field. He only wants $13 million. I don't know what kind of term he would be looking for. He wants a long-term deal. We would not give him 9 years. I'd try to keep it down to 2 or 3. He's also a captain, which would be good. 50 grade stamina, that's good enough. Really good fastball, really good curveball, slider and the changeup, not super, average, I guess. Not great stuff. He has better movement and control than his stuff. You can see last year with Tampa Bay, he appeared in 52 games, excuse me. He started 11 of them. He pitched to a 3.51 FIP at 2.56 ERA. So he's coming off of a solid season. I don't know if I would want to put him in the rotation, but maybe. It's certainly a guy that we could look at. We only need one starting pitcher, so, there's definitely options here. I would at least see what type of return you could get for Zapata. The control and stamina are a bit worrying if you want him to be an ace-type pitcher. So if we go to our roster, and I think he's a double-A. He was with Hartford this year. That's what we're waiting on right now, is we really want to see if his control can come around. I'm not as concerned with the 40-grade stamina, especially Major League Baseball the way it is right now. You don't need to have a lot of stamina to be a reliable starter in the grand scheme of things, but the control is certainly an issue. This guy will not be able to be an effective Major League starter or really even a bullpen piece if his control is only at 35. So we're really hoping that he's only 22 years old, so we're hoping that jumps up at some point. You can see that it did go up from 30 to 35 in September per our head scout, our scouting director, but we really needed to get up to at least, I'd say the very least, I would like it to be at 50 if it does not get up to 55 grade. But other than that, you can see that his stuff is going to be pretty elite. He's going to have, pretty good movement. Fastball, sinker, curveball change. If that change develops, that would be phenomenal. Enjoys to drink with teammates after the game. He sits 98 to 100. He had a solid season last year for Hartford, so I think we're going to bump him up to AAA to start 2027. You can see that 122 and 2/3 innings. He made 24 starts at 3.30 ERA, at 3.41 FIP. He was about a 3-win pitcher, so we just need that control to come around, and then we'll be good. Sometimes the best option is the simplest. You have money, and he only wants $9.5 million. He's referencing Adames. I'd also look at LeMahieu as a solid bench bat. I could also see getting Kershaw on a 1-year deal, or you could really go for it to try to trade for a stud. Same sort of thing you did for Torkelson. I think signing Kershaw would be good. He's a lefty arm pitcher. Well, the last 2 seasons is a leader and has low salary demands. So let's go back to free agency, and Kershaw is going to be at the top. He is fragile, but he only wants $2 million, and a guy with his track record, his accolades, you're not going to get those guys a lot of the time for $2 million. I imagine he would probably only want a 1-year deal at this point. Yeah, so it wouldn't be the worst thing to take a chance on this guy. He's not the guy that he once was, but as Meatman505 said, past 2 years, 2025, he started 33 games at 3.84 ERA, a 4.17 FIP. Last year at 3.79 ERA, a 3.94 FIP. He was close to a 2.5-win player in 2025, close to a 3-win player last year. So he's still getting results. 2024 is a little rough, but it seems like he bounced back. Taking a look at his injury history. So he suffered, it looks like, 3 injuries last year. They weren't super. He sprained his elbow in spring training, it looks like, and then he had a couple injuries back-to-back with his back, coincidentally, in July of this past season. And other than that, there's not really anything here that I would really be concerned about. He partially tore his labrum, looks like twice, but that was back in 2021, 2022. Everything else really wouldn't be too worried about. So he is fragile, but I don't know. It's just a $2 million, really, future Hall of Famer. Would not mind getting him maybe into the rotation. A few guys I think you should target are Willy Adames, Logan Gilbert, move him to starter, Kershaw, and sign or trade for another reliever. Maybe get Soroka, but only at 4 years or 5. So we'll go back to free agency, and we'll look at the pitchers here. So Logan Gilbert was here. It seems like he hasn't quite developed into the type of pitcher that I think he can be in real life, at least in this save. You can see he has been with Seattle the entire time. 2025, he put together a pretty solid, if unimpressive, campaign. 32 games, he started 22 of them. 161 frames, 3.41 ERA. His FIP was a good deal higher, but still, for a lower tier starter in your rotation, I mean, you'll take that type of performance. Last year was not very good, a 5.33 ERA. Seems like they alternated him between the rotation and the bullpen. A 4.43 FIP, so his FIP was lower than his ERA, and he was a half a win player. It hasn't really panned out. You see, he's an extreme fly ball pitcher. I don't really know how that would play. Playing some of his games, making some of his starts in Coors Field. I mean, for only $1.4 million, we could always just take a chance and see if it works out. He's a righty, so we'll see about that. We talked about Kershaw. Of course, we've talked about Adames. And then you can see that my boy Mike here, Rock, I like that. You can see that he's looking for $20.3 million over, I would imagine, a pretty long-term deal. Yeah, he wants 9 years, and he wants a player opt-out in there. Really don't want to commit that long to a pitcher like this, although he has been, he's been pretty reliable in the grand scheme of things. His ERA has never been spectacular, but it's, for a guy that you can just throw into the middle of your rotation, not have to worry about too much, he's been pretty solid. I mean, 3.4, I mean, this is conceivably a guy you could even sell as a number 2 in a rotation, certainly. 60 overall grade, 65 grade potential. I don't really know if he's going to reach that potential if he's already starting to fall off a little bit. Extreme ground ball pitcher, though, is intriguing. A fan fave. So, if we could get him on a not crazy deal, I wouldn't be against it. As a Tigers fan, I love seeing Torkelson and Green in your lineup. I would try to lock them up for long-term extensions, yeah. So that is something I inadvertently went over at the start of the video. I guess I should have waited to talk about it with the comment. So we will look to get Torkelson extended long-term, and then once Green wants a long-term extension, we'll look into that too, because as soon as we infuse them into our lineup, the team just started playing really, really good. So we definitely want to keep them around long-term. Then Adames fits really well because he fulfills the team leader aspect that the new owner wants too. That is an excellent point. So I do think that to fill our shortstop void this year, we are going to look at Willy Adames. I think that would be a good addition to the team. In terms of third base, the bullpen, and first base, the time will tell. I'm not against bringing Chad Kirstein up to be the first baseman. The jump from AA to AAA is not, I don't have to see this guy perform in AAA just because he did so well in AA. I'm not against making him the starting first baseman on opening day. If there's another option out there, maybe we could do that. I mean, if we go to free agency, and then we look at guys that can play first base. Rowdy Tellez, of course, we had him in 2025, and then we traded him to the Yankees. So in real life, it's nice to see him kind of doing pretty well. I got to see him play when he was with the Blue Jays AAA affiliate this year. I've got to see him play for a little bit before he got called up. DJ LeMahieu dealing right now with a broken kneecap. He's fragile, but of course his high contact would probably play well in Coors, and only on a 1-year deal, I'd imagine, is all he wants, to be maybe like a stopgap first baseman until we know that Kirstein's ready. I'm not against that. He's 6'4", 200. He could definitely play the position. He is fragile, taking a look at his injury history. So he's fragile, but he hasn't had to deal with any injuries since 2024. So that's the guy that maybe we could take a risk on to just play at first base until we feel comfortable putting Kirstein in the lineup. Regardless, I will go throw out a couple contract offers, try to fix this, well, not fix this team, but add to this team, and we'll see how we're looking after we get some guys from free agency. All right, it's a brand new year, January 1st, 2027, and the team is not fully constructed yet for the upcoming season, but we have made some moves. We didn't make any trades, but we did make some free agent signings. So we'll go first to the pitching staff, I suppose. So we've made a couple additions here. We did end up signing Clayton Kershaw to a 1-year deal for $2 million. If it works out, he'll give us a nice lefty arm in the rotation. And if it doesn't work out, it was only $2 million. We can just, release him out into the wild and, no harm, no foul. But we'll see if he can work. Of course, our fans were excited that we signed a guy like Clayton Kershaw. So we'll see if he still has just a little left in the tank to kind of help us in the rotation. I'm not going to have him as our number 3 starter. In fact, I don't know what the order is going to be, but, yeah, he's not going to be our number 3. We've made a couple of additions to the bullpen. We signed Rafael Montero to a 1-year deal for $3.8 million. He's a little fragile. You can see that he's had just a bunch of minor injuries in 2026. But I think that he could be a solid middle relief piece for us. Maybe a setup guy. I don't know. Would like to kind of have somebody a little better. But we did sign Rafael Montero to be in our bullpen for a 1-year deal. We also drafted Jesus Cruz in the Rule 5 draft. You can see that he is a fly ball pitcher, so we are taking a bit of a risk, but I want to see if he could maybe give us some solid middle relief innings. 65 great stuff. The movement and the control are about average, but he has 3 really good pitches. So we'll see if he can hold down a role in our bullpen. Once again, if he can't, it's fine. We'll just offer him back to the Phillies, and then we'll just try to find another piece. But those were the 3 additions I've made to the pitching staff so far. So we still need a couple high leverage guys to pitch at the end of games. We do have Andrew Vasquez still here, but we need a couple more guys other than him. And then Brett Conine we still have in that long relief role that he's been pretty solid at over the past season. You see a 2.48 ERA, 2.83 FIP, so we're going to leave him right there. In terms of the lineup, we've made a few additions as well. So starting at first base, you can see that we did get DJ LeMahieu on a 1-year deal, $2.8 million. He's going to start the season as our starting first baseman. We'll move Kirstein up to AAA, and then as soon as we think Kirstein's ready, we can just call him up. We'll put DJ. We'll see if he's okay with a bench role. If he's not, we can trade him for just something. He's on just a 1-year deal, so I'm sure some team somewhere would be happy to have him. At third base, we do sign Yoan Moncada to just a 1-year deal. He wanted a multi-year contract, which is not surprising at 31 years old, but we gave him a high value 1-year contract. I think he was only looking for $17 million, so we bump it up to $23 million just for the 1 year because we had the money. And so he will be our third baseman here in 2027. I don't know if I would want him to be here long term, but at least for this year, I think he will help us make a push towards becoming a much more respectable organization on the field. You can see that when it comes to the bat, he's coming off of a rough year, a 722 OPS, but before that he was doing pretty well. And I think defensively, he's not going to be phenomenal, but I think he'll be able to hold his own. So we'll see if he can have a bounce back season with us. And then at shortstop, we did end up getting Willy Adames, so he will leave Tampa Bay in the save. We signed him for a 1-year deal. He was looking for a 3-year deal, so we just give him a 1-year deal at $10.5 million. And I think he should help us solidify our shortstop position until we can find, once again, a more permanent alternative. So I don't know if this is what the lineup's going to be, but right now I have Moncada, Green, Torkelson, Bishop, Epps, LeMahieu, Romo, Adames, and Anani Williams, who of course is just our placeholder until Derek Curiel is ready to come up full-time in the major leagues. So our bench is pretty much set with Ali Sanchez, Jose Miranda, Drew Bowser, Ezekiel Pagan, and John Torres. When it comes to the pitching staff, we just need a few more pieces, maybe some minor league depth for the rotation in the event that some of these guys get injured. But so I'm pretty excited about how the team is looking so far. Of course, I would like to say I'm always very overly optimistic about the teams, but we ended last season so well. It was looking like a bit of a down year, but then we do battle to finish 78 and 84, which on paper obviously is not a good record to have, but it does give me reason to believe that with some of these additions that we've made, maybe we can be a 500 team, maybe a little bit over 500 in 2027. So we'll see. Offensively, of course, playing in Colorado, offense should never really be an issue, but I really think we have some nice pieces here in the lineup, and we have a nice mix of righties, lefties, a couple switch hitters in there. The pitching staff is always going to be the question mark, but we do have Rocker. We do have Denny Brady. We'll see if he regresses. He's not going to do a 3.95 ERA again, but we'll see what he can do for us. We do have Burford, who we're very excited about to have. He did very well in his first stint last season, so we'll see if he can keep it up. And then in the minor leagues, we have Zapata and Rodriguez making the trek upwards. I did look to see maybe I consider trading one of these guys for some pieces. The value is definitely there. There are really some interesting names. So like I was looking at offers for Danny Rodriguez and, for example, Brian Hayes came up, and he has been very good in this save, the third baseman for the Pirates. He has 2 years left on his deal at $28 million. So I didn't really want to do that, but that's just to give an example. The value for both of those guys is definitely there. So if we're at some point in 2027, if we're looking to make a big splash, maybe to get a pitcher or some bullpen help, or maybe a bat in the lineup, I don't really know what kind of bat we would need in this lineup, but we have the pieces that we need to make a splash if we want to, I think, is the overarching point. So now I just need to kind of find some bullpen pieces. That won't be too difficult. Bullpen pieces are pretty easy to acquire, but I don't want this to go any longer. So in the next episode, we'll start on opening day in 2027. I'll show you guys the bullpen additions that I made, and we will get moving on through the 2027 season. There we go. And hopefully it's a good one. I'm pretty excited about it. I think that, I'm not expecting a division title team, of course, but, I'd like to think that we could play a little bit over 500 baseball. If we go to what our owner is expecting, he wants us to play 500 ball. I'd like to think that we could do that. But you can already see we've acquired not only just Clayton Kershaw as a team leader, but Willy Adames is also a team leader. So we've already checked that box off of our owner goals. Getting the attendance up, of course, if we're playing well, the fans are going to want to come. I know I can mess with the ticket prices, but ultimately the fans are not going to pay money to come to see a bad team. So we just need to make sure that this team is as competitive as possible to get butts in the seats. He wants us to reach the playoffs by 2030, so we have a few years to do that. Improve our starters ERA. Of course, that's always going to be difficult playing in Colorado. Last year we were 13th in the National League, so we will try to be a little bit better at that this year, but it's always going to be tough. And he wants us to upgrade at first base, so we'll see if LeMahieu is an upgrade at first base. If he's not, maybe Kirstein will be an upgrade at first base. I don't know if that's what he would consider an upgrade, but overall, I think that we're on a good path with our owner right now. He's pretty happy with us, and hopefully he'll be happy with this team when we start playing in April. So thank you all for watching this episode. The minor league season for the minor league team that I was working for is over right now. Basically, for those that don't know, we were hosting the Toronto Blue Jays AAA affiliate, the Buffalo Bisons. Of course, now that the fact that Toronto is no longer in Buffalo, they're back in Toronto. The Bisons went back to Buffalo, so we do not have that team anymore. So my minor league season is basically over. For those of you that have been around for the entire series, you'll know that I was working for a minor league baseball team, but that's over. So now I have been uploading maybe one video a week, one every 2 weeks. But now I think the videos should, start to be a little more regular. Maybe we'll get to like 2 a week, and then maybe I could sprinkle in like a little more, maybe some different games too. But just be on the lookout for that. Well, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.